What's going on, people? My name is Abhinav and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you how to get these out of focus backgrounds while shooting photos or videos using your DSLR or mirrorless camera. So yeah, before we get started, I'd like to share with you what is the camera and lens setup I'll be using throughout this video so that you can use it as a reference, okay? I'll be using the Sony a7 III and two lenses, the 24-70 f4 lens as well as the 85 1.8 lens. There are basically two methods to get a really shallow depth of field, and you can use them both together to get even better results, okay? So the first method is using a lens with a wide open aperture. Let's cut to a shot wherein I'll be using the 85 1.8. Right now I'm using the 85 1.8 lens to shoot this particular shot, and I've set the aperture to f1.8. Now having a really wide open aperture like f1.8 allows us to get this buttery smooth background blur. What is aperture? Aperture is basically how wide your lens barrel is opening. The wider it's going to open, the more light it's going to allow, and the shallower depth of field it's going to create around your subject. Now let's go to the topic of how to set your aperture to something that is really wide open. All you got to do is you have to go to the manual mode on your camera or aperture priority mode, and then change the f number to how much ever lesser the number, the wider the aperture is going to be. The more the number, the larger the number, the narrower the aperture is going to be. That means that if you set something like f1.8, f2.8, the aperture is going to be really wide open, allowing you to get blurred out backgrounds. If you set your aperture to something like f4 or f16, your aperture is going to be really narrow, which is going to have most of the things in focus. Now, that was the first method of getting blurred out backgrounds using your DSLR or mirrorless camera, right? But not all lenses open up to f1.8 or f2.8. So we're going to be using this lens as an example. This is a 24-70 f4 lens, which means the maximum aperture that this lens supports is f4. So how can you get blurred out backgrounds using a lens like this? That is by using our method number 2. Method number 2 is basically zooming in as much as possible using the lens you have at your disposal at that particular time. So for example, right now I'm shooting using the 24-70 mm lens at 24 mm, and I've set the aperture to f4. And you can see a lot of things which are not in the previous shot are visible in this shot. And you can also see that the background is significantly less blurred out, and that is because this is a really wide angle lens. 24 mm is considered to be a wide angle. Now what if I move back a bit? Now you can see that a lot of things in my background are getting into focus, and that is because 24 mm is a wide angle, which means there is not much separation between me and the background. So if I want to get blurred out backgrounds using this lens, I have to zoom in to 70 mm, which I will do in the next shot. So right now we are shooting this at 70 mm, and you can see that the background is considerably blurred out compared to what it was when we were shooting at 24 mm. Mind you, the aperture is the same. It's f4 when we were shooting the 24 mm shot, and it's still f4 while we are shooting the 70 mm shot. But you can see that the amount of bokeh that we're getting, or shallow depth of field, background blur, whatever you'd like to call it, is significantly more in this particular shot. And that is because the separation between me and the background is being emphasized or compressed while shooting at a narrower focal length. Now the 24-70 mm lens that I'm using on the a7 III is equivalent to something like the 18-55 or the 16-55 mm lens. So you can get this particular results using those lenses. So guys, those were the two methods to get blurred out backgrounds while shooting with your DSLR or mirrorless camera. If you found this video helpful, make sure to click on that like button, and to stay updated whenever I upload a new video, consider subscribing. Make sure to comment down below the topics you want me to make a video on, or you can DM me on Instagram.
Keyboard warrior, ugly ass catfish. You can never act this out here, living that lavish life. You should be embarrassed, yikes. Cash in the vault, so it's safe to say your boy stay dry on the rainy days. Royal flow, put me center stage. Walter White, bitches say my name. Coming at me, you need stamina. This ain't for amateurs, waiting for hours and hours to shine on the camera. Still got you powerless. Life is a bitch, but she look like an